winter. And on their name, put some respect. Yeah, yeah. I think it's time for reality check. Yeah, reality check. Gotta get you back on cold. Reality check. For the young and the old. Reality check. Yeah, yeah, to heal your soul. Reality check. Get ready for the show.
What? 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 What up, though? What up, though?
What's up, Dr. Winters? Hey, everybody in the chat. Welcome back. It's Reality Check. Don't y'all love that intro?
I love it. I want to play it again, but no.
No, you're gonna have to hit play again and give us another view, and then you can hear it again.
Okay, well, I'll play it again.
Reality check. Introducing Dr. Clyde Winter. And on their name, put some respect. Yeah, yeah. I think it's time for reality check. Yeah, reality check. Gotta get you back on cold. Reality check. For the young and the old. Reality check. Yeah, yeah, to heal your soul. Reality check. Get ready for the show.
I love it. I love it. I
That's what
love
I'm
it.
talking
It
about.
it is fantastic. I love the music. Family, how you doing? Karen Benzin, Neon Beauty, Rugged Matter, Jalen Parsad. Hey, what up, though? See, I'm shouting.
Everybody.
I had to stop shouting, because this is a momentous day. What are you talking about? It's been warm for 3 or 4 days in Chicago, and we haven't had 7 inches of snow or 2 feet of snow. You just don't know up here. Up here, the snow is a trip. Snow is a trip.
So for school, you guys don't get out you don't have snow days, right? Or at least it has to be like a blizzard for y'all to.
It had to be about 45 or 50 below. I'm serious.
Below zero?
Yes, wind chill. How you doing, Brad Murray? Yeah, we had we had very few of them, but most of the time it's a lot of snow. A couple of weeks ago, I couldn't get out of my garage. So it was kind of a little tough.
That's
What up, Super Mike 2164? So I couldn't get out, so I was stuck here for a day or so.
Oh, that's no good. But at least Uber Eats and Instacart, they can still get around, or are they also grounded?
Oh, they were coming around. I'm too cheap for that. My grandson might buy that stuff.
Now your grandson bring you some groceries and some food, get you some Uber Eats. He can Uber Eats for you.
Yeah, well, he does do the Uber Eats. I don't do that stuff though. Even during the pandemic, I wanted to drive every day, so I was happy.
Yeah.
Thing is that it's very difficult to, when you get used to doing everything, it's kind of hard. My only problem is I don't have my wife to take care of me, so that's the only thing that's really wrong.
Oh, yeah. Your riding buddy. Like, so if during the pandemic, she would be a good passenger princess.
Not really. She died in 2020. Before it got really bad.
Oh, okay.
She said F me and said I'm going. And we had saw a psychic once. We saw Psychic Sandy, and so when we talked to Psychic Sandy, she said everybody on the other side they really want you to be there. Diane, I said they really want you to be there. I said, damn, why they want to take my wife? But I mean, hey, I enjoyed her while she was here.
Yeah.
She's probably. How you doing, Russell Richardson? She's probably in home. She's probably in heaven now with her. What do you call her? What do you call her soulmate? She's probably in heaven, with her soulmate. You know what I mean? It's always been this interest. It's just like one of the biggest problems they used to have is in Islamic theology was what do you do? What who's your wife going to be on the other side if you had two wives?
Oh,
You know, I mean, hey, and so then
it's a real conversation. Yeah, no, that's how do you answer that? Is it the first one or the one you love the most?
right, and what if when you died, then she married somebody else? So see, I believe in a sense is that I believe I had her here and I was very happy. I wish she was still with me, but being on the other side, maybe not. Who knows? Who
Yeah,
knows? We might not like each other on the other side, but it
that's
was fun while she was here.
that's an excellent perspective, and I'm going to adopt that because I think we have this huge thing with control over things that we have zero control over.
Right, right.
So that makes a lot of sense.
I
And
know, but because
you
my
still have
daughter,
a lot of work to do, Dr. Winter. So that's why.
that's what everybody said. They're full of this. I'm ready to go. I didn't want to, I didn't think I was going to live this long. I thought by the time I thought I was going to be dead by 21. I got shot at so much, and I wasn't even a gangbanger.
Mm.
And the bloody Halloween of '67, I saw bullets whiz past my head. Pew, pew, pew. Oh, I had so, Eve, I had so many guns stuck in my face. He said, "You're going to join the gang and stuff." See, back then they wouldn't shoot you in the face. He said, "You're going to join the gang." I said, "Fuck you, man. But you miss, I'm going to fuck you up. I'm going to fuck you up." And now they wouldn't even shoot me. So I don't know.
I like that. They didn't want to try you. Maybe.
That was silly. That was silly, but I didn't turn my back on them. They used to like to shoot you in the back. Nowadays, these young people nowadays, they'll blow your head off looking right at you.
That's very true. That's very true. They'll shoot the wrong people and then try to shoot the right people later. So now it's just a lot of bullets flying.
Yeah.
Because for what?
Karen Vincent, hello, Hotep family, love and peace to all. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even really believe that. Sometimes they miss, but sometimes they miss. But I think people come up to Chicago on the weekend and hunt down some brothers. Super Mike 2164 said, if we leave our brain cells on this side, the memories stay. No, the soul regulates the body. The soul regulates you. I mean, sometimes we can bring trauma. I think in some incarnations, I think Super Mike, we can bring trauma with it. I know this lady. I had this teacher. She was after my principal died. I always call Miss Ellis was my principal. I loved her so much. My wife used to say, "Now you can marry her if I die." I said, "Okay, I'll do that," but she wasn't my type. But anyway, after she died, I had this lady named Miss Anderson. She became my principal, and she just hated me so much. I used to put salt in my. Used to put salt at the door, and I used to put salt at her door to kind of try to contain her hatefulness. But then I prayed real hard to God, and I said, maybe I had done something to her in a former life. I don't know. So I prayed to God. I said, please, God, please, I hope that she can forgive me, and I'll try to forgive those who I hurt, and I hope they'll forgive me. Those who I don't know who I hurt in other lives.
I mean, I don't think you have any control over that, but damn. I mean, okay, now I need to know, did it work?
No. She would still is that me making that noise? I don't know. But she still was mean, but what happened is that she was dumb. She's a very dumb lady. And she got in trouble because they said she was helping the kids pass the district wide test. So she lost her job, and she went back out in the suburbs. Hi, Nia Muhammad.
It sounds like that worked. That sounds like that worked. I always push back when I hear people say about karma because they think it should be something that happens in real time. But I think that we don't understand time really. So what should be tomorrow for us could be something that happened in a year or it took 10 years to happen. because we don't,
Really?
we don't know all of the nuances behind how things are connected. But I think that the the non-melanated people who have control over the resources and such, and how their numbers are in the red, I think that's pretty good karma for 500 plus years of heinous crimes against humanity.
TW says, hello, Dr. Winters, and Eve. Interesting topic on math tonight. I have an advanced degree in applied mathematics. I'm still learning. Well, you're in this company of your lady friend. She's a math giant and stuff. But I in terms of time, I know you may have heard me say I believe time is a circle, and you just jump in and out. You just jump in and out, and so I'm here now. I know my daughter. I know she's my mother once because she always tried to boss me. I said, I'm your dad now, so I'm the boss. So I said, you can't spank me. So we play our roles. Sylvia Brown, she used to say that we all live in hostels on the other side. It might be 1,000 people in the hostel.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't take up space.
Right. Or we don't know how much space we take up, right? It's a lot of what people think, because you don't have a body anymore, because we see the body still here, but the animation, what is causing it to exist and survive and not look like what it looks like when people are dead. So I get that people think we don't have or take up space, but how do you know?
Oh, I know.
How do you know, Dr. Winters?
Okay, I'll tell you. Back in what was it, 2000? When was it? 19. My son was he was born in 79. He was about 10, so that had to be 89. And okay, in Chicago on the elevated train, sometimes these trains would, now listen to me. Back in the 90s, sometimes these trains would leave the garage and they would go down the tracks.
You don't see it anymore?
No. They would be on the track, and it would be gremlins on them, So one night, in a sense, one day I was my son, he had an appendix, and so he was at Children's Memorial Hospital. That was the best children's hospital in Chicago. My wife would go out there and she could spend the night with him, all that type of stuff. And so then we were coming back. It was him and my wife and me. And so we was, because he had to go and get an appointment. So we were coming back. And so we were on the L train, and this was the red line train. And at that time, the red line train would go down underground and then come up at what's called Roosevelt Road. But this particular day, the train didn't go underground. The train came around the system, and then in a sense, then it was in the conductor. He was talking, he was rapping on the train and all that, and so then I said, "This is strange," and then he turned around and he looked like this, boom, and so then I said, "This is spooky." So then we kept going, and so then so when we got to I think it was Jackson. Jackson was the last stop between 22nd Street. And so after we left Jackson, there's no stops between Jackson and 22nd Street. But the train made 5 stops.
No.
And people got on the train.
No.
But there was no stops. So people got on the train. And so then so we kept riding and stuff. And so then when we got to 22nd Street, the train ran off the track. The front car ran off the track. And so then my wife said, everybody, you get over there, you stay here, you go there. That's what my wife said. And she said, we got to balance the train, because we were right behind the train, right behind the car that was hanging off the track.
Oh.
And so then And so then the front car was packed with people, packed. I repeat, it was packed. You couldn't even get through them. But then it was these the Spanish group that they used to try to protect the train. So when he came through the door, I said, how can he come to the door? How can he get through all those people? He said, come on, you guys come to the other train. My wife said, sit down, don't move. Nobody, don't move. And so then the conductor came. How can he get through all those people? He said, come on, we want y'all to come over there and stuff. And so then finally I get out and I looked outside, you know. I looked through the door. So I said, how could they get through? And then I sat back down. Okay, 3 days later, I woke up crying. And then my wife said, what's wrong? I said, when I went to that door, I just remembered it was 20 people standing on a little 2-foot platform. 20 people. That's how I knew that. That's how I learned that
they don't take up space.
They don't take up space.
That's an amazing story.
Me and my wife, we used to see all type of crazy stuff, you know. Sometimes my kids would say, what happened? I said, I'm not going to even tell you. You wouldn't even believe it. They said, well, that's you and mom. Yeah. You know. But anyway, that was back in the day, crazy stuff. So that's how I learned it in the stuff that things don't take with space. But you know what? Let's get down to it. What about this math thing? You know, family out there, we only got one person, TW looked like she's down with the program, you know.
TW might be able to teach me a thing or two about math with all of the advanced degrees. I think that math is a wonderful subject that people should stay close to. And I really wanted to talk about it because, right, we have the hoodie, the Math Ain't Mathin'. But that was more of a common sense perception, disassociation with things. And from there, TW is a man, Dr. Winters. So sorry about that, TW. But from he said the Math Ain't Mathin' too. No, I'm just kidding. Right, when things didn't make sense, you know, they're not adding up. That's why the math ain't mathin' to me. And I think that it's a phrase that a lot of people have.
But how did you get that? How did you develop that phrase?
Really, what I just said. If things weren't adding up, then the math is wrong. I don't always speak the right way, so the math ain't mathin' just kind of seemed to be something that I would want to put on a shirt.
Mm-hmm. But you know, but when you think about it, they say math is logical. Mathematics is the way that we should think. But then you said that the math isn't adding up, you know. And the thing is this is that would seem impossible if math is the logical science and math is the only way that we can only see reality. How can it not add up?
I know. And that's why I love math. As a student, because everything made sense. Even when you took something away, it made sense because there was a formula. There were steps to solve the problem. Whereas in English or literature or the other side of your brain courses, there were a lot of thinking involved. So I kind of understood people's disconnect between the two types of subjects. You know, you have people who like the numbers and then you have people who like the words, and they're not necessarily the same person sometimes. Mm-hmm. I find that now at my very big age, I like both. I like to think and stew and brainstorm, but I also very much need things to make sense. And when we put things plainly, algebra is just very advanced addition. And people try to use these really big words and terms to explain things that could be very simply put. So, you know, we got to make the math for some people. And then some people are very much afraid of the numbers because they've been burned by the numbers, or the words, they've been burned by the words. So they don't even want to attempt to understand these languages and how people use them.
Yeah, well, I understand algebra because the girl in front of me liked me, and I used to copy off her paper. But I paid later. But that's interesting when you brought this whole idea of being burnt by math. How do you think? How can you be burnt by math though?
I think that the biggest thing when we think about being burned by math is when you see numbers in a big way, like people. So, for example, if you live around a lot of Black people, then you would think that the Black people have control over the resources or whatever, because it's all of us around. Um, what I find is that just because what you see is out there doesn't necessarily mean that that's what's behind the scenes. Um, and then in the business of people and how people are using things, and whether it's resources or merchandise or space in general, um, people start to do funny math. You've got New York where you have to pay for airspace. I would never live in a place where I had to pay for airspace but not have a yard or grass. I think that that's a very strange existence, but I know people do it. They've made uh, that those variables make sense for their life. And, I can understand how people can do that, but some of this other stuff, we got to make it plain. And if we don't make it plain, then I guess we can't really say that we're trying to help, or at least I can't say that I'm trying to help. I would love to help people through their disconnect with the numbers and the words.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's beautiful languages, both of them.
But TW again, it says figures don't lie, but liars figure. That's interesting. But then Naughty says, but Naughty says a little bit something different. Naughty says they do it on purpose, like naming things with Greek words. True, and I think that's because they make the words look highfalutin. But then what about the simple language? What about being able to be part of the world? Russell Richardson said math was the bane of my existence when I was in school. But see, that's the whole point. When I was in school, words were everything. You wanted to learn the words because you wanted to talk to girls. To talk to girls, you had to make them dream. You had to make them see things that don't exist. And so then, because you had to make them see things that don't exist, I found that words weren't the most important thing. But then, but you're making me feel in a way that somehow, in a sense, I was wrong. That maybe I should have been able to do the math.
No, no, no. I think what you're saying is beautiful. I think that's player. I don't know. Chat, you're gonna have to let me know, because I don't know if I can spot a player or not. But anyway, what you said about getting the girls, words are the way to go. You start droning on about numbers and she's gonna get very disinterested. And that's why you have a lot of have you seen the meme where it's a cartoon? It's a cartoon type of meme, and it's a girl and boy in high school, and he's kind of like a nerd and she's kind of, I guess, a popular girl. So whatever you would think that looks like. And he's interested in her. She's not interested in him. She's interested in the jock or the cool guy or whatever. And then flash forward 20 years, the nerd is somebody's CEO. She is not looking like she used to look in high school.
They sure don't.
And the jock or the cool guy is definitely also not looking like he used to look in high school, and or working for the original nerd guy that she kind of put off to the side for the jock. And
Wow.
Jock is a numbers guy, but if you're competitive, you are a numbers guy. You got to know, your stats. You have to know your wins. You have to know the other scores of other teams and such.
Well, I don't know. I was supposed to have been a jock, but it was the boys in the band that got all the girls, because they were cool. They had the rhythm. They knew how to wear the right clothes and wear the hats and stuff. The only thing that helped me was that I could dance, and because I could dance, back in the day, if you could dance in girls, girls, in Chicago we have a thing called bopping, and then bopping, you and the girl dance together. You throw her out, you spin around, And I think in a sense is that if you could dance, you could pick up girls better, because I guess you use this in a way. You had to use math because you had to count the steps. You had to know when to spin them, and because see, to me, dancing was very important because it made women feel that they look good, and see, because they look good because you danced well and you made them look good. So that was kind of important. But I don't know if I put in here family. Excuse me. I put in the I put this whole idea about hate math. I don't know if you really hate math, but I think you're kind of afraid of math because it's like I said, I passed algebra because of the girl in front of me, and so then I think that I always feel that if I would have been good at math, I would have probably right now I would be in right now I'd be in cutting up brains and stuff, because I would be a brain surgeon. But I always felt I couldn't go to medical school because I wasn't good at math. And now, but then when I had to, but then in a sense, see, I avoided math because back in the day, you could get a college degree and you didn't have to really take a math class. You could, because I was going to be a social studies teacher, and so because I was going to be a social studies teacher in a sense, I didn't really have to take any math. Like Natty said, math was my worst subject in school. Me too. I got a good paying job that dealt with advanced math. Yeah, because later in a sense, you feel, hey, no, I don't know it, but then you can do it. But see, I felt I had convinced myself. And what do you do, Eve, when you convince yourself that you can't do math? When I had to teach it though, because I I had to go to school to be social studies teacher, but then when I started teaching elementary school, I had to teach the whole program. So I had to teach math, science, social studies, etc. And then I found that I could do math,
Mm-hmm.
and I found that I could teach kids how to a little secrets and how to be good mathematicians. But I convinced myself prior to having to do it. Maybe that's what happened with you, Natty. That later in the sense you're able to do it because you convinced yourself. And I'm convinced a lot of times, Eve, that when you believe you can't do something, you can't do it.
Absolutely. I know that. I try to use belief for something that I feel, and then know for something that I can prove. And then if people can agree or disagree or whatever, but I know that to be true. I've seen it in real time. Just the power of manifesting, or I don't know why the brain is able to heal itself or help us heal, but positive thoughts when you're not feeling well versus negative thoughts when you're not feeling well, you will feel better quicker when you're using your brain for good. So I can see that happening across the board with different things that we've told ourselves that we can't do.
Well, the thing is this, that I'm one of my books is brain based teaching in special education, and so I study a lot of neuroscience and neurological basis of learning. And what you find in a sense is that because of the fact that you can create new synapses, unless you get dementia, when dementia begins to eat up your brain cells, you'll find in a sense is that the brain is very flexible. The brain is dynamic. You never stop learning, you know. And this is but what happens is just like what Nia Muhammad said, math intimidates me. Yes, but then in a sense, even though it can intimidate us, if we have a reason to learn it, somehow we learn it. Like Natty said, I learned so quick for that money. I taught myself from Google, laughing out loud. You got that right. It's amazing, but most of the time, in a sense, we fail to be able to be good mathematicians because what we do is that we scare ourselves. We convince ourselves, like Super Mike said. A lot of black kids were told they would never use math in real life. I mean,
Can I?
what do you think about that? Don't you think that could be a major factor?
It is a major factor. This is absolutely where I wanted to go. Okay, check it. I've had real life students who have that same who have had that same disconnect, and it has been the coolest experience to see them have a light bulb moment. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is Black kids who were told that they are less than, or that they have a very sordid past or history, or just that their life right now, maybe they live in the hood, or maybe they grew up like you, Dr. Winters, and they're dodging bullets all the time, but they made it to class. And I think that that's amazing because they're there, they're attentive. But so far, life is lifing really hard, and they're still a child. So then you've got a teacher who doesn't give a damn. They're not like me or Dr. Winters. They're a teacher who likes to have off in summertime. They're a teacher who leaves as soon as the bell rings. They're a teacher who doesn't do parent-teacher conferences, or at least not the ones that make sense. And that's the person who's supposed to be leading these little children. Let's just say that this is just one class, 30 kids with this one teacher with this bad attitude. Let's just say that she is the math teacher. And so she's teaching whatever the lesson is, and the student who has all this life going on and has been told all of these bad things is sitting there trying to figure out what the fuck she's talking about, really, because I got life going on, and you doing a bunch of stuff on the, I'm not really there. And I've seen that student get passed from second grade to third grade to fourth grade up until when they get to me in middle school, and they have this disconnect because they don't know what's going on. They don't really care what's going on. And for what it's worth, nobody sat down and talked to them. And just talking to them has always made a world of difference. But letting them know some of these origin stories, like how Dr. Winters has a good jillion books that y'all don't have all of, because if you did, then he would be on somebody's island right now and not in Chicago dealing with those conditions. But no, really, these origin stories, Dr. Winters, they have been this light bulb for these students. I'm talking kids who have checked out. They don't care. They don't even put their name on the paper. And then you tell them, or you show them like a wall with some, some writing on it. And they say, who did that? And you show them a picture. I try not to even answer with words because I don't know all the words that you know, but I got some pictures, and so far they're not all whitewashed, and they start making these connections on their own. And that has been the coolest thing to watch, because again, these teachers have wrote these students off years ago, and they get to their class and they're like, oh yeah, no, I know that little Daquan's not going to do anything because I've been seeing him since second grade. And but then Daquan kind of shows out, and it's been that missing piece of information that kind of does wonders.
It's so true. I remember my the last school I taught at, it was Bennett Shed, and when I went there, because when I got hired, I was supposed to be teaching eighth grade Black history, so that's what they hired me for. But then when I got there, they said, well, you got to teach the eighth grade, self-contained class, everything. But the first day I got there, the thing that impressed me about the school is that the teachers didn't leave right away. And I said, damn, this must be the place for me, and we had a teacher there named Miss Wallace. She taught, she's still teaching, and and she was a great mathematician. She could just make the stuff so simple. I got a book. I got a book because my last 3 to 5 years in the public schools, I was teaching special education, and I got a math book of all the little secret stuff. And so then I wrote them down. So I could, because see, as a special ed teacher, what you teach is you teach skills. You teach the kids skills. You teach them strategies that can help them to learn. And so I copied down a whole lot of her stuff so I could be ready, because see, many people understand that as a teacher, the thing that you love the most is to be able to reach a kid. And when you can reach a kid, that's what, in a sense, really makes me feel happy. I can feel happy because of the fact is that I had a good lesson. You can tell when a lesson bombed, and then you got to find a way to reteach it. Education is teach, reteach, teach. In other words, in a sense, when you get a lesson that bomb and you see you can look at those faces and say, damn, I'm not reaching nobody. I'm not reaching. Has that ever happened to you?
It has. And actually, it happened the other day, and it's my own fault because sometimes I get them riled up because I let them talk. I let them be around. I don't like you have to sit in your seat and you can't move and you can't go to the bath. I always thought that wasn't good for developing minds, but I also know that it can be distracting and disruptive. So it's got to have to be some organization there. But I guess I kind of started the day on, they were on a billion the other day. So I'm just talking to them and I feel like I'm just droning and I'm watching the words go in one ear and out the other ear. And then today we actually did the same lesson again, like you said, because I can't not teach it. They still need to learn it. But they're picking up on it. And I know that it's because we did it yesterday. They're like, oh, I know the answer. Oh, I know this answer. And they're thinking that it's the first time and they're just really on it today. And I didn't burst their bubble and let them know, we did do this yesterday. But inside, I'm like,
but you changed it. You changed the way you taught. Natty said exactly. It's the teachers a lot of the time as well. They don't make learning interesting. Some things you can't make interesting. I'm sorry to say, Natty. Some things you can't make interesting, but they still need to know it, and you still want to teach them. And so, because you want to teach them, you go through it. But again, like TW said, how well a young person learns is a function of the degree of chaos going on in the home. That could be true. They talk about they need food and all that type of good stuff. But the thing is this, is that I saw education as different. I saw education because the fact in the sense is that I always loved to read. And because I always loved to read, maybe that's what helped me to be into history and all that type of stuff. But I always loved to read, always found books interesting because I had a good imagination. Because see, when I was younger, if I went to the store, they would always say, go back home, tell your mama to write a note. They all act like they couldn't hear me. They all act like they didn't understand my language. I took speech and all that other good stuff. But I found in a sense that even though they felt they couldn't understand what I was saying, books allowed me to have a good imagination. And that's why sometimes I don't understand why some people don't like to read. Because, I didn't like math. I love it now and I know how to. I took a course once, even taught me some more better tricks. I was sorry I had stopped teaching though, but hey, that's life. But the thing is that I could teach the kids. What I found in a sense is that I loved reading because it helped my imagination. It helped me be able to see things. See, I could read a book and I could be in that place. See, I could be in that place. And some people, they read a book. Okay, that was a good book, but I could be there. I could see myself there. And I think that's the beauty I think of literature, of reading. And but math is good too, but I didn't see that so much.
I agree. I think that there is a disservice of technology right now, to a point where my students have made me feel a lot older than I am because of how advanced technology has gotten. So where you're talking about imagination, we can just type something in and see it right now. I could say, show me a purple sky with a blue dinosaur and, some trees. And there's an AI generator that can give me something that looks like that. Now, to read words and I have to come up with the picture in my head. That's hard work for some people who are very comfortable with technology versus in the past, it wasn't there. So not even that people wouldn't have been comfortable with it. It wasn't there, not like that. So I like to read too. I liked the escape, but what I really liked is that I had a pact with my oldest brother, and he told me I wasn't allowed to curse because my vocabulary wasn't extensive enough. So reading was a way for me to kind of read the dictionary without reading the dictionary. And next time I saw him, I had some words, and then I got in trouble. The math won't mathin'. So,
but the thing is that it's the beauty of it. I think that's why I used to love anime. I still like anime. me and my wife used to love anime because what I liked about anime is I could see heroes, and I could see heroes, and I could see good writing, and I could see things in a sense that was very good to me. And I think Japanese anime is not really written for kids to me. I know me and Yoshima, we get in arguments about that because he uh he doesn't he feels that it's kind of I think he feels that anime is a little dangerous. But he made an for my CRT, he made a real good video, and he had in there you know Attack on Titans. He had Attack on Titans, some of their characters when I'm talking about CRT. So I love that. But again, the thing is this is that it's the imagination. But I mean, but the real but the that's interesting that you say that, Eve, because some of the physicists and the greatest mathematicians sometimes they talk about the fact that how you doing, Dorville? They talk about the fact that they use their imagination to help, visualize, math or
Yes.
theories. I don't know. I
Yes.
mean,
No, that's absolutely yes. So I feel like there's some nuances that people never get an opportunity to explore, and it's because of their experience with educators. So for example, a lot of artists that I know are people who know how to work angles and people who know how to mix components. So if you want a specific color of red, you can't just, it's, well, if it's red, it's just going to be red. But if you want like a specific hue or, saturation, you have to use equal parts of this or one part this or one part this. And now we're turning into scientists. So it's a lot of ways that people are already mathematicians and geniuses in their own field, but they never had a chance to look at it like that. The people who cook the best food are mathematicians. Again, I already said artists. Musicians are mathematicians because you have to be able to understand time. And going back to math being the bane of people's existence, I think that those people say that they draw stick figures. I've heard
that's
that a lot.
me.
No, see, stop that. A lot of people say that, oh, I can only draw a stick figure. And I say,
That's me.
um, that's a start, right? Because
Yeah.
with everything that we can do well, we would have to practice it so that we could stay on the top of it or stay skilled or like muscles, once we know how to do something, it comes second nature. But if you don't practice it, you might know how to do it, but application might be a little lacking. So I would say the same thing goes for math, to the point where when you had to teach the self-contained eighth grade class, you're teaching all of the courses, not just math or history or language arts, but all of it. And I think that you have the teacher book now, and it's got all those tips and tools. And um, the students know that we have the answers because they think that we're very smart and we have all the answers in our head all the time. But I tell them all the time, no, I got to go to the answer key if I want to make this really quick. And they're like, you don't know the answer? And it's like, no, I could sit here and do it. And if you want us to do that, we can do that. But I know you don't really want us to do that because that's more work for y'all. But, sometimes I do it with them. And sometimes I've had to sit and be like, wait a minute, is that how you do that? And then check myself, is that how you do that? And then hopefully I'm not teaching them bad stuff.
But I really think that that Common Core was I think Common Core was a great thing because see Common Core made education more Socratic. And the Socratic method of teaching is that you want the kids to ask questions, you want them to kind of solve problems on their own and things like that. And I think that when we introduce Common Core, and I know down south a lot of the school districts down south didn't like it, but I thought that Common Core was really good. I liked it for social studies, I liked it for math, but I think that the interesting thing is that I think that if we could have more mentoring of math teachers, where they could have a great math teacher teach them some of those secrets. Because see, you know, I was surprised sometimes that in Miss Wallace's class, that she had very good attendance, and she also had very good discipline. But she didn't have to really, in a sense, she didn't have to really get loud or things like that. But she was able to affect change among the students. And I think because of the fact that she knew those techniques and she could give them those little tricks that made it appear that anybody and everybody could learn math. And I think that's important, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen teachers withhold stuff like that and or give it to students that they feel are ready for it. And I'm trying to figure out why you would keep it from the students who aren't ready for it. Because if it's a tip or something that's going to help them get to the next step faster, then shouldn't you give that to them and then see how it works? But I've seen a lot of teachers just completely stunt students' growth because they feel like they're not ready or they feel like it's not for them. And a lot of times it's just a bunch of lies because, we created language and we created a system of organizing things and marking periods of time. So, so this is what I've also experienced. Those same teachers, Dr. Winters, when you disrupt their understanding of life, i.e., you tell them about Lewis Latimer when their whole life they've learned about Thomas Edison. I've seen in real time people cry, educators cry because of how many students that they've affected with bad information. And that's just one piece of bad information, and it's just about light bulb. But they start having
but I mean, just
issues.
But see, they should have an issue. That's what white supremacy is all about. Because okay, when you think about the fact is that they had the internet existed. Internet was created so that if it was a nuclear war, they were going to be able, in a sense, to communicate, through this system. But it was a brother who wrote the first program, to make it possible for us to use a computer. He didn't get any money, you know. It was a brother in a sense that made the first cell phone. He didn't make really any money, and I think because of the fact that usually Europeans are the ones making money, then therefore a lot of times then Europeans always feel that, hey, why bring up these black scholars or what these black people did? And see, it's like what TW said, minimizing black history in school is a way that the system maximizes black student disinterest in history, right? When you don't see yourself in history, then why should you even think about the history? You got to see yourself to be able to visualize yourself in that place. Now he says, I love to read. Reading old books help me understand things more. That's true. A lot of times, in a sense, I used to like them because they made me feel more invigorated. But Dorvell, man, you did the right thing. I'm late because I just got through watching some anime, brother. I can't blame you.
You can't say that he's okay being late because of anime. He could,
but it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I'm I'm watching. I love my anime. Brad Murray. Yes, Dr. Claude Anderson watches anime. That's dope.
That's
You know,
cool.
because see, the thing is, this is that, my wife, she used to love it too, but she used to like to see the girly stuff, but I would still look at that with her since she wanted us to have at least an anime that we would watch together. But she said I would always want to get to the end too quick. you know. But again, in a sense, it's things that you think about. This whole idea, because when you're thinking about math, you're thinking about how you can control. But see, I'm gonna tell you something that's very interesting. Is that back in the day, it was very popular to talk about black, left brain, right brain, all that type of mess. And they were saying that left brain was in a sense for the people who were like the map oriented, the people who have structured, and then the right brain was supposed to be for math, for arts and stuff like that. But see, the interesting thing is this: is that African, The Western writing system, it goes in a sense from left to right, whereas African writing systems go the opposite. It goes from right to left.
I
Therefore, therefore, in a sense, the math, therefore, in a sense, in relationship to African people, the math in a way is an artistical thing. It is a creative thing. If we're going off that right brain, left brain stuff. Whereas in a sense with Europeans, they've completely departmentalized, especially the European male, because you women, ladies, y'all can use both sides of your brain at the same time. That's why you never argue with a woman. But men, we had to go through a serious process. You're laughing. You're
it's
laughing. My daddy told me that, and he didn't lie.
no, I'm laughing because it's so funny because of how the European can flip things and then make everybody use it, even though we all know that it's not real. I mean, even if you go to the Bible, y'all all know that you came from your mom. Every single one of you know that you came from your mom, but you've got this book that's telling you that we came from him. And I'm not trying to have people calling me a feminist tonight, but I guess there are people who will just take anything I say and run with it with any type of narrative. But that's not me saying like power to the women. That's just me saying that math didn't math because I came from my mom and you came from your mom. And, at least for lots of thousands of years, that's how it went. I think maybe I heard you talking about this before, Dr. Winters, about we were an asexual being that was females originally, and then evolution, or whatever the word would be for the change that happened to include no
What
more.
I said is that in the Sumerian literature, a man was created from the woman's rib. See, but then when the Hebrews got it, it became patriarchy. But I don't really know, and I'm going to tell you I don't really know. See, I'm suspect. I'm suspect of just about everything. When you now listen to me, when you think about the Torah, when they talk about the Torah and they say that it's the Bible, but remember, a lot of that was based off of Greek. Now, mind you. So then, therefore, that makes me believe that a lot of stuff that people see in the Bible is not true. Why would the Sumerians, the Akkadians, the original Semitic speaking people, why would they say that man was created from woman instead of, in a sense, the other way around? So I had to believe that these people are teaching me a lie. But that's considered to be the word of God, just like the Quran. It's considered to be the word of God. But the point is this: is that in terms of what we're learning from this so-called mathematical mind, this mind that's supposed to be based on pure logic, but that takes everything they learn from mathematics and they usually, make it into something that's cruel, something that destroys people, something that's evil.
Yeah.
So I always hear this thing about the beauty of mathematics. But then we think about the atomic bomb. We think about the beauty of mathematics. And then we think about why they took gunpowder out of fireworks and put it into a bullet. So is math is important. Math is all, and it has a logical basis. But is are there two different types of logic? I don't know. Is there Caucasian logic and a melanated logic?
That's a good focus. I think that it goes back to frequencies. And I guess those are more numbers that people can choose to understand or not understand. When you're coming from an original source of information, then maybe the logic is something that you don't have to convince people of. And then when you're coming from information that has had a lot of filters, whether the filter is just, that game telephone where you start and tell the person a message and then they tell the person a message. And then by the 20th person, the message is, happy birthday to Big Red, just some really crazy random stuff. A lot of times people are just not doing what they're supposed to do in that game. But sometimes the message does get lost because, lost in translation. So maybe they whispered it too softly. So now we're missing pieces of this original source of information. So it doesn't even have to be malicious as much as, it's just missing information. From there, I don't know if it's two different logics as much as it's just, you have the original information that's coming from a common sense place to me, because I guess I have that thought. And then other people who are getting it from somewhere else and then trying to convince people of.
Now, you said something that's very interesting because Natty says Western society gets to take advantage and credit for our smartest minds. You said in a sense is that common sense. What is common sense? Because the common is there one common sense? Is that so I think that's why they always teach you that math is a science, that math is a reality. But I think also in a sense math has to be some structure in it. Whereas I don't think common sense has structure, I don't think common sense has structure.
I agree. I think that the missing structure is them trying to convince us of things that we already know is true. I'm sorry, things that we know not to be true. So for example, right now in this age of confusion, little kids are being told that they can be whatever they want to be. Now you can't go out here and be a butterfly if you want to, and then you go on your roof and you try to fly away. You'll probably really hurt yourself.
Yeah.
But, people are really pushing people to these extremes because they want to make you accept something else later. And I find that those types of forceful, it's like forceful thoughts, they're kind of, I don't want to say they're raping our brains, but it kind of feels like that. It's not a thought that I had. And now that I have to think about this, if I think something that disagrees with how you've told me to think about it, well, now I'm the bad guy. So again, my logic is sound, but I have these people telling me that I don't make sense. And then they're pushing it. So,
so the math don't add up.
The math ain't mathin'.
You stop it. You're converting me. Family, help me. This woman is converting me. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. But when you put it like that, it's so important. For example, Russell Richards said, "Don't argue with women. Period. Words are their weapons of choice." It's not that words are their weapon. It's not just that words are their weapon of choice. It's just that a man who loves his woman will not say certain words to her. We know if we say words that are very hateful and harmful, then we know that we're not going to sleep that night. You see, women control the bedroom, and I'm not talking about having sex. I'm talking about if your woman is mad at you, you're not going to sleep that night because they're not going to let you sleep because they're going to keep arguing at you. So you learn not to say hateful words, whereas our women say very hateful words to us. But we would never say the same words to them because we know that they're not going to forget it. But I think that this is very important when we get on this whole idea in terms of male female. Natty says, "Yep, the woman came first. We are all female. We're all females first in the womb." Very important. And I think also is what I think it was. I think it also was something that Dorel said, and this is very important: is that all embryos start out as females. Given this reality, that's why I said is that have they done a job with us in terms of how they teach us what even our Bible, even our so-called Quran, Is it really been corrupted? Okay, look at this. Look at this. Whereas in African societies, the woman was recognized as as a leader, and we had the pseudo man leader. What do I mean by that is that women make a man feel that he's the leader, even though he may not be leading it. But you're laughing, Eve. You're laughing, but it's the truth. And so then there, I mean, his mamas who send their kids out to fight in wars, and the last thing most men on the battlefield say before they die is, "Mama."
Oh,
This is deep. This is
it
deep, mama. Because the fact in the sense is that we have this connection. But then when you think about this thing in terms of words, math, and things adding up, is that we've been taught this whole idea. When you look at white Muslims like in Pakistan and the Afghanis, you got to keep that woman down. You look at the white man, the Caucasians in Europe, got to keep that woman down. White Arabs, white Persians, white Afghanis, white folks, period. Any super light-skinned person always feel they got to keep their women down. But we never felt we should keep our women down until we got over here, because we're trying to be logical and we're trying to make the math add up. The European says that if you run your woman, things will work out. Whereas we find over here that when you try to run your women, you usually fuck up. You see? And it begins with your mama. Your mama say, "Boy, don't go out there and do that." And then you be trying to run away from your mama, ever telling you don't do anything. Because whatever your mama say, a lot of times you go out there and that karma hits you. Oh, damn, See? And so then the same thing comes with your woman. That's why you don't always ask your woman everything. That's why you don't always, because if she tell you something and you don't do it, you're gonna be in trouble. So a lot of times you just go ahead and ug it up. And then later in the sense, you know what answer she would have got. Like me, I reached a point in my life being logical and trying to make the math add up. I started understanding that if I had to ask my wife about something, then I felt I shouldn't do it.
Wait, pause. Are we talking man tunnel vision? Because nothing.
If I felt I had to ask my wife something, that meant in a sense that I must not supposed to do it. So then I said, well, I'm not going to do it. Yes. Because I saw my wife as this is it. You got to remember, Eve, that if your woman loves you, and definitely if she respects you, love is a state of being. I'm not going to say mind anymore, state of being. But if your woman loves you, then she wants you to have everything that you want. So you can't help but see if the mother goddess wants you to have something, you're going to get it. You may not get it to the fullest degree, but she's going to make it pop. And that's why the white man don't want you to be married to a black woman. See, a white woman, they're okay, but a lot of times, in a sense, they might not have that sensitivity, and they're going to wait for you to make it happen. Whereas the black woman, she's going to make it happen because she wants you to have it. See, this is what makes it so deep, and this is why everybody want to take the melanated woman, because if the melanated woman respects you, then she's going to do everything in her power to make sure that you're a happy man. You see what I'm saying? See, the math adds up when it's black plus black. See,
I like that math. I like that math a lot.
But it's a math in the sense that your common sense will tell you not to do it because your daddy told you. Your daddy told you got to watch out for that sci-fi. Your daddy told you don't let your mama tell you what to do.
Right.
Your daddy told you that if your women try to tell you what to do, then in a sense she's been trying to be like your mama. You see, and so then you're fighting all of these, and you're trying to create a partnership. You're trying to create a partnership when everything is aiming to cause a division.
That's right. There goes the math words again. But that's real. The math adds up when it's black plus black. That's for sure. And I see all the time people trying to make the math add up They want their situation to work. They give more than they should give. People are taking more than they should take. We're not investing the same amount of time in each other or in the things that the other is interested in. So I definitely see how math can be scary for some people and how they can get burned by the numbers. I like that you studied the language aspect, though, because this is okay. Here's the thing with the internet. Even though it's been a device that people are using to communicate more freely, quicker, and I think if I said succinctly, that would probably mean the same thing. But people are using the internet to talk to each other, even though in the past there were a lot of layers and barriers and obstacles. But inside of these communications, the words matter. At least they matter to me. But maybe it's just because I'm a teacher. If you're telling the students to write about an experience they had, you don't want them to just say that they were happy, because that's just one sentence. And if we're trying to prepare them for when they get to college and they have to expound and, give a lot of sentences and show that they really know what they're talking about, now you have to know other words for happy. Now you have to be able to articulate these experience in words, and not just that it happened to you and that you can kind of talk about it in conversation, but can you explain it to someone else where they know that this happy was a happy that made you jump out of your seat happy? Or was this happy just I'm sitting in the back of the car and it's a nice day and I'm happy? That's two different types of happy. And to that point, there's two words. You could use two different words. You could use probably four different words for those feelings. And I think that people say that that's nuanced or can be a lot. But I think that if we take time and care about the words that we're using, then people would be more clear about a lot of things that we're doing all this talking about. So, Lucy.
But it was purposeful because, see, in the Catholic schools and in the private schools, they still teach spelling. In the public schools, we weren't allowed to teach spelling.
Right.
I don't know about Washington, D.C. In Chicago, we were not allowed to teach spelling. Don't spend your time teaching spelling. But how can kids read? Yeah. How can kids develop a vocabulary? How can kids communicate with each other? That's one of the reasons why I think that many men and women today under 35 don't know how to talk to each other, because they didn't learn the words. And I mean, yeah, it's granted. If I ask you how much you love your mama, if you had a good mama, you cannot find the words. That's normal, you see. Yeah. But that's normal. You see, now if I asked you, what about somebody who did something wrong to you? Oh, you can find plenty of words. See, but it's finding this vocabulary. But anyway, let's take a little time to go over some commercials.
Cool.
Did you want to present?
I do. I have one. I think that we're just gonna do just this one for time purposes. And
I got a couple, but go ahead. Are you ready?
Yeah, you got it. You see it? Do we see me? The Math Ain't Mathin' hoodie. Again, I know that I'm trying to get this going.
Did you put share yet? Okay. Let me see. Add the stage.
Yeah.
There we go.
Cool. There we go. The Math Ain't Mathin' hoodie. I really like the saying because of what I've been saying all night. If things don't add up to you, I think that you can say it in a very big way. You can say it with your chest. You can say it with our hoodie. I am going to add some different colors to the hoodie. As it stands, I really like white, but it is a color that gets dirty very quick. So I didn't actually consider that math. My fault. But I'm going to add some other colors for the hoodies and possibly some other colors for the print on the front. So, if that's something that you're interested in and you want a different color, just shoot me a DM on Twitter at Justice for Just Us, and I will keep you in mind so that you can get a notification when that stuff has been updated on the site. Also, I just thought about this in real time. If you are interested in this hoodie and you've been listening to Reality Check since we've come on, shoot me a DM and say that you've been a long time listener of Reality Check with how many episodes we have, and you will get a very special discount on this specific item. So that's just my thing for you guys. If you wanted to do that, you don't have to, but that's just from me to you.
Hey, that's cool. I got a couple of commercials. I'm gonna try to make them quick. Hey, I've just written a new book, History and Culture of the Black Aboriginals of America. Yes, yes, I've written a new book. This book is called History and Culture of Afro Americans. It's about the Aboriginal Americans. It's about the first people who inhabited America. Many people don't know about our great culture, this super culture that we created, but I discussed this book. In 489 pages, you'll find out so much information, great information, about, in a sense, what the Aboriginal foundational Black Americans did. You're going to see, in a sense, that Black people contributed much here. When the first Europeans got here, that's what they found. Yes, they found Black Aboriginals inhabiting the Americas. It was the Black Aboriginals that built this country. This is why you had to get my book. Get my book, History and Culture of the Aboriginal Blacks of the Americas. In this book, you will find out the truth. You will know what we created. You will know who we are. Get this book. Buy it now. Today is today. We need to homeschool our children due to white supremacy. In many states, education departments are passing laws to deny our children from learning the history of foundational Black Americans. Today, you can learn how to organize and teach your children in a homeschool in my book, A Guide to Homeschool Foundational Black Americans. You can use my book, History of Blacks in America from Prehistory to 1877, to teach our children their history here in the United States. You can use my book to teach world history. And this book I've written is called The World History of the Black World. This will teach your children about every Black civilization in the world. Get this book. The time is now. Get these books to teach your children about their greatness, to prevent them from losing confidence in their own ability to learn and be successful future adults in employment and education.
Reality check. Dr. Winters, you are muted, and also I am not on the screen anymore.
You're not?
That's okay. I was over here jamming because I have reality check stuck in my head, and maybe that'll be a song one day, like a whole song. Yoshi, where you at? No, I'm just kidding.
There you are. But
Yeah.
I can't. Are you muted?
No.
Oh, no. Yeah, well, again, in a sense, is that I hope you guys will buy buy one of those books and stuff. But the thing is, this is that it's very what's happened in a sense is that we have to understand that because of the fact that our mind, our brains are structured different, and so then I used to when I was young, I used to spend a lot of time doing research on African writing systems, and that's when I began to see how we interpret things a lot differently from Europeans when it's in a natural state. You see, that's one of the reasons why you'll find when you're teaching that we're more effective when we're teaching our children. We're more effective when we're teaching our children from a perspective, in a sense, that allows them to feel touched. Come around them, stay on your feet. When kids are doing seat work, and you're trying to teach them math, if you're teaching Black children math, you can't just in a sense sit down and teach them. You got to, in a sense, once you give them the lesson, you have to move around the class after you give the lesson and go around from table to table or desk to desk, and then you got to at least try to comment on what they're doing. And I think that helps them to understand math a little bit more intuitively, and also to really, I think, in a way, it it allows them to engage fully with understanding what math is all about. I don't know. What do you think?
I agree. I find that, well, the hands-on learning approach, and I don't mean, beating students. What I mean is what you were talking about, just kind of having an active presence around them versus being in the front of the classroom and kind of droning on. Math being a practical thing, I find that making it make sense to them in a way that makes sense for us. Some of y'all say, well, they didn't teach us how to do taxes and they didn't teach us how to do this. And some of that stuff is true. They didn't teach us how to do some of that stuff, but some of the stuff they did, and y'all just didn't catch it. But I will give you the out of, you were a student who just checked out because you knew that either the math won't math and your teacher sucked, or it's just you had other interests. Maybe you just really didn't like the numbers and you wanted to do something else. But I would say that math is probably connected with all of the subjects. But like you said, they didn't allow you guys to teach spelling. They don't allow you to teach cursive. I
No.
think or believe that cursive is a skill that helps the children make connections in their brain. How they're connecting the letters together on the paper is some sort of, has to be, at least to me, a repetitive function that the brain does when we're doing other things and needing to make these connections.
But what makes it silly to me is that I was at the bank, and I was asking, I said that I had to write my signature when I got my bank account. What do these young people do? And then they said, well, just let them write whatever they can scribble down or whatever. I mean, it's almost like, the education system has allowed us to almost go back to the old days, where people just put an X.
That's
Just put an
exactly
X
what
with
it
their
is.
signature.
I've
You know?
seen that happen. And I thought that was so strange because as a child, I practiced my signature.
Yeah,
I really wanted it to be cool. Like I was so excited that I was going to be able to sign something. And, they don't tell you that the check part, the signing part, you're signing, you are paying people at that point when you're signing.
yeah.
I mean, you probably sign the back of the check too, but that front of the check signature is not what you think it is, people.
You know, I bet you a lot of kids are forgetting that. I bet a lot of kids don't even know how to sign the back of the check because now everything is handled electronically.
Right? Yeah, you could just take a picture of it. Um, I I had the biggest problem teaching in public school because of all the things that we've talked about so far, just what they allowed to be taught and didn't allow to be taught, because that wasn't my experience in school. So I'm coming from a whole other environment of how the teachers treat the students. And not that they treated my black ass any better per se, but it was more like they couldn't help it because I'm in the environment. So they would actually have to go out of their way to be more racist and inappropriate than they already were, just generally. So, to have students who didn't know certain things. They don't teach phonics. I think that phonics is an amazing apparatus of learning how to decode words, but that I before E except after C, that kills them every time, Dr. Winters. People who can't spell receipt, or what's another word? Neighbor and way. That EI thing again. So now we've got sounds that shouldn't make sense, but I've memorized it, so it makes sense to me.
Right.
These students didn't get the opportunity to do phonics like that, so now they just have to be told this is the word, and there's no rhyme or reason behind it. It's just, this is the word and you got to learn it.
And but see, they didn't want you to really have the kids really learn anything. They wanted you, in a sense. It's almost like what what Russell Richardson said. If you dumb people down, it's easy to control them. I didn't really think about it, but back in the day, they wouldn't allow us to teach civics in this. Civics. They stopped us teaching civics. Civics allows you to learn how to, in a sense, to how you vote, how you really become a good citizen. And that's very interesting to me. Because the point is this: is that what do you do? How do you get people to understand the reality? And Bob said something interesting. What do you think about this? Um, Eve, we're the best in music, so we should be the best in math too. What do you
We are the
think?
best in math. We're the best in everything that makes sense. Okay. All that other stuff that doesn't make sense, I can say very comfortably that they can have it. If you're putting raisins in potato salad, I don't know that I want any parts of that. And you can be the best at that. But no, like Dr. Winters was saying earlier, the cell phone and a lot of technology that uses all of these numbers and systems, that's us. A lot of the technology that makes life easier is math, or in some form or fashion, engineering. And again, that's us. Not saying that other people don't have these thoughts, but I don't think that they are as constant as the thoughts that we have. But I think that that goes back to the frequencies that people are on, and that's probably biology. But I'm not a biologist, so don't have me up here lying, even though I could be right and I just don't have the source. So
It's very complicated, and it's what do you do? What do you do? What do you do to really, in a sense, get the best out of your student? What do you do, in a sense, to get them to love to read, to love to do math? And I think maybe because the fact is that many teachers maybe because they're teaching in elementary school, they're teaching math, but they're really going off what's in the book, and they don't have any special techniques. Maybe that's why kids lose interest in math and don't really want to be mathematicians. What do you think about that whole idea of a sterile math? Like you're very enthusiastic, so it looks like you might could get me to want to like math. But what about the fact that a lot of times these kids are being exposed to math? In kindergarten, they can have a good preschool teacher, they can have a super kindergarten teacher, but then that first grade teacher, if they're a little sterile, if they're not a dynamic person, if they're not a person who's able to get off their high horse and communicate with the kids, then how can that what impact can that have on maybe holding the kids back from really being as great a mathematician as they could possibly be?
well, that's great. And I think that happens all the time. It's by design. Some teachers in early education are there to do that. I believe that wholeheartedly. Their job is to ensure that we're not out here in any very real force because of what you said about not being able to learn civics, or them not teaching civics in certain school systems or for certain students. I mean, that kind of goes back to the Bible being blacked out and on the plantation, because they don't want you to know that you can rise up and rebel, and a vengeful justice, that you don't deserve that. But if it's there, then why can't I have it? If you're teaching me that, if I do my civic duty, that I can have things that make sense for me, or that matter to me, or that I'm equal, well, I can't teach that to you anymore, because now you're going to start to expect things. Well, you can't expect things because I don't want to give you anything. Well, if I don't teach it to you, then you can't expect it. So it's kind of what is it? Is it benign
Self-fulfilling.
neglect?
It's benign neglect, but it's a self-fulfilling prophecy too, because you're teaching. Remember, most of the time people go off words, and words are very important. And if you want the math to add up, a lot of times you have to make it so that the language adds up in terms of how the kid interprets the language. And I believe in a sense is that as I've said before, when I was teaching at university, it was easy for me really to teach because when I went to school, a professor would mark your paper up, and I mean, damn, they'd be putting all type of marks on it, because they knew rhetoric and stuff. But when a lot of the students that I was teaching, because I was teaching the graduate school program, I was teaching the people who want to get their master's degrees, and so many of them really didn't have the ability to write, the ability to really produce good writing. And because I think of the fact is that in the 80s they started telling students that you should spell words the way they sound, and a lot of times if you don't know phonemic awareness, you won't get the sound right because as we
Right.
talked last week, we get the name of the letter mixed up with the sound of the letter, and
Right.
that can be an impediment to learning how to read.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have a respect for people who speak more than one language to a point where I always find it funny that people talk down on people who have strong accents or people who don't get it, because if they're already having to make these different connections in their brain and translate in real time so that they can speak their native language and or speak the language that you're speaking all at the same time, um, that's kind of impressive. And then people will kind of put it down because they haven't mastered this language. And I don't know if I want everybody mastering this language. I think this language is dangerous because of all the different ways that you can say something. And then from there, how powerful our brains are, like we talked about earlier, is people out here spelling things and creating things, and they don't even know what they're saying or how it's affecting the people around them because they're using the wrong word or they're being lazy with what the word actually means, um, or they don't care and they just reckless. But uh, that letter thing, me and my dude talked about that after the program because of how we've taught our children how to read. And the school that they go to, they learn meta nature, so they learn both different ways, left to right and right to left. um, I'm ambidextrous, so I try to always encourage them to write with both hands. Not that they're going to write with both hands, but just to get the feel of it. You should never, the first time you write with your left hand should not be because your right hand is broken, you guys. Let me just tell you that right now. You should know what that feels like. And then, you won't be really messed up if maybe your wrist is hurting one day because you've been at the computer
You,
all day. But
but we're conditioned to use our right hand.
like by society, by
School,
genetics, but
society,
yeah.
school. Because the thing is, this that if it's just like they try to do everything they can to make you not to be able to use your left hand. It's just like when a kid's sucking their thumb. Let's put some pepper on it. Let's put something on it to
Right,
get it
right, right.
to get it disturbed. But then I think also it's what do you expect in teaching? You mentioned Egyptian. Dorvell said Catholics teach Latin and etymology.
Yes,
That's
they do.
very important because see the thing is this is that you're teaching kids by you teaching etymology, they're learning why words in a sense, have meaning, why you use a certain word, what is the history of that word. Natty says, my math teacher never left their desk. Right. And you can't, to me, you cannot teach math. You cannot teach math if you don't get up and walk around, especially with black children. You're not going to have any impact on them if you just sit down at the desk. TW said, I love word problems in math. Well, see, that's because TW, you're a thinker. You like to think. Most of us, in a sense, don't like word problems because word problems, they demand you have to carry out certain steps that are kind of hard on us. Russell Richards said, if you dumb people down, it's easy to control them. That's true, and that's what it's all about. But we should try to move away from that. And it's so hard. It is so hard. It's so hard for us to understand is that we grow. We grow through how we learn. We grow through how we understand what life is giving us, and it's very interesting. I remember in a sense, like TW said, when the bank jacks up our interest rate because of our skin color, that means the math ain't mathing.
That's
You're
right.
absolutely correct. But I heard something the other day that I was surprised at. Women make better business people, but even though women make better business people, they said that women pay more for their houses than men, and in a sense, they sell their houses cheaper than men. I don't understand that, because with women being better in business, how can you get away with that? I don't know. I don't understand that. Eve, what do you think it is?
I was told the same thing, not the first part. The second part is absolutely true. We spend way more, and then the negotiation skills seem to go out the door when it comes time for us to sell something. Um, to the stereotype where the woman goes to the auto repair, so she doesn't know jack about cars, and this mechanic is about to sell her $300 worth of air for her compressor or something that just doesn't make sense. She doesn't know, so she spends it, and then she goes home, and her dude or her man is fussing with her about why she spent so much money when all she was really there for is something very basic, an oil change. You never can go get an oil change by a woman and actually go get an oil change, because now you've bought $500 worth of air for your tires that are brand new because you didn't know. And that never happened to me. And I am exaggerating. I hope that's never happened to you. But to that point, I think that what they mean is women are the coupon shoppers. We are the sale finders. We can really focus on being frugal, but that's not all women. And some women don't give a shit about that stuff. So they try to blanket statement a really good aspect on all of us, when I think the opposite is more true. We're emotional creatures. We spend emotionally. And some women have been, uh, they'll destroy something, something very valuable because of their emotion. So whereas the man would have sold it and got some money for it, she's breaking windows and scratching up paint and just causing all sorts of havoc. So
Yeah, kind of. How you doing, Brad Murray? And let's talk too. What up, Q? But but the thing is this: is that I believe men. I believe men. I don't believe women are more emotional than men. I think that's bullish. And the reason I say that is that just like they say men don't gossip, they gossip. The only problem is most of the time we've been taught well, I was taught by my father, and I was taught that when you're around men, you're not supposed to talk too much. Men don't talk too much. Really, pops? Yeah. Daddy, we really shouldn't talk too much. No. And so then we got all these different themes, that are supposed to you know supposed to make us understand stuff. Super Mike, how you doing? He said, Dr. Winters, did you meet Margaret Collins while teaching? No, I never met Margaret Collins, but Margaret Collins, made me decide, in a sense, for a while to really think about homeschooling my children, because I felt, in a sense, is that you had to try to teach them, you know, you had to try to teach them, in a sense, how to really learn things. And so and my oldest son, when he was a baby, I used to teach him Swahili, you know. And then my other kids, I taught them Arabic. I taught them how to write Arabic, how to speak Arabic, and all that type of stuff. But the thing is, this is that they probably forgot it now, unless they're just saying their prayers. But again, in a sense, I really feel that it's important. I feel it's important in the sense that kids learn a language, you know, and I really believe that I think that I really became, I think, interested in linguistics in comparative linguistics because of my French teacher, you know, Missy Manaz, and she was from Puerto Rico, and she used to teach French and Spanish, and she used to always teach us how to speak French, and you know, back in the day, I used to have I could speak French really beautifully. You know, now it doesn't sound so good because my head is full of a whole lot of other languages. But back in the day, I could really speak it really good. I remember when I went to university that I could speak French better than people getting a master's degree. But I took French for 4 years, and my average grade was a red D. You know, I got that blue D at the end of the semester, baby, so I could get credit. But it was usually a red D.
That's funny. I took French for in high school. I took French. I took Spanish in elementary school, and I think that those the Romance languages are easier before you start learning the African languages, and then once you start learning those languages, and not that they don't have similarities, because I know that Kiswahili is an amalgamation type of language, but the sounds. Now I have to try to remember that k is not C, it's K, because in this language it's ch and not like cereal, you know? So we got cereal and cup, it's the same letter, but in other languages it's not like that.
But you know, it's not just that. It's just that you know we it's easy to learn Swahili because Swahili is the natural language, whereas most of the other language like Maninka, will off a little bit, but Maninka, Bantu, a lot of them are tone languages. What I mean by that is that you know the same word can have 5 or 6 different meanings. Listen to me. The same word can have 5 or 6 different meanings, and it's how you pronounce the word, how the inflection. We don't use inflection in African languages, but it's how you pronounce the word, how you in a sense present the word that people understand it in context. You know what I'm saying? That's what makes African languages very hard to learn because of the fact that they're tonal. That the same word, because it has different meaning, each word has to have a different tone so that people can understand what you're talking about. It's it's very important. But Dorvell taught about this fact, and this is interesting. Dorvell said the slave population are the ones who created Pidgin and Creole languages. That is why I consider all languages dialects except the mother tongue. But see, that's the whole point. Now we're beginning to see, this is very interesting. Now we're beginning to see that a lot of, we've been taught over the years that English is an unnatural language. But now, because of the fact that we know that the base, listen to me, the base of English is our Semitic languages and Egyptian. I repeat, many of the base words in the English language, in the Romance languages, are either Egyptian or Semitic in origin. And see, we didn't understand that until now because the fact that the original British, the original Irish were Phoenicians who spoke a Semitic language, or they were ancient Egyptians in Scotland and Ireland. Therefore, that's one of the reasons why we've been such masters of the English language. When you think about people who speak the English language, you don't think about white people. They don't have any great white people who can really speak the English language. When we think about masters of the English language, we think about Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, definitely James Earl Jones. James Earl Jones. I mean, hey, most people only know him, playing Darth Vader. But I mean, when you hear his prose, when you hear him really pronounce English language, it is so beautiful. And then the brother in Deep Space Nine, beautiful English. And so then, and so when you really look at English, and then look at the rappers, how the rappers, in a sense, are able to be so poetic, are able to rhyme the words without even thinking about it. But this just shows our high level of competence in English, and that we've been taught this whole idea that English is not a part of us. But see, now that we know that the original Irish, the original British, most of the original French were black people. You see, the Picts, the Celts, you see, and then when you add on the fact that the Moors, many of the Moors, in a sense, the Vikings, all those people were also black. You have a different understanding of the English language, and you begin, in a sense, to see that a lot of what we've been taught needs to be refined. How you doing, Tone Spy? And see, this is the whole point. And I brought up the Bible earlier. And the reason I brought up the Bible earlier is that I do not believe, given the Akkadian, which is the earliest evidence of the Semitic language, and the Sumerian languages. See, I do not believe that it was written by black people. And I do not believe it was written by black people, because why do the Sumerians and the Akkadians say, in a sense, that man was created from a woman? Why is everything in the Bible so patriarchal, and the Quran so patriarchal? If it really came from black people, you know what I'm saying? The Quran is not so bad, because most people ignore the Quran. Most white Muslims, they ignore what's in the Quran anyway, because it doesn't say put the woman down. It doesn't say keep the woman down and stuff. But see, anything that white people touch, they mess it up. So to me, the Torah, that so-called Torah, I think it's based upon the Greek Bible, and it's all bullshit. That's what I believe. And you people out there get mad at me all you wish, and I'll go along with whatever you say. But what I'm saying is that why is it different from the Akkadian and the Sumerian? I go even further. I saw this thing talking about, that the Huxtas were the original Hebrews. No, they weren't the original Hebrews. The original name of the Cushites was Huxa. But see, when we allow white people to tell us everything, we allow white people to teach us, and we accept whatever they tell us without really checking the truth. And see, that's why we don't even know this, TW. We don't even know this. People don't know, in the sense that the Moors were advanced in applied mathematics. For example, Alhambra in Granada, Spain, is a study in geometry. What about the fact, in the sense, look at the castles that the Moors built. Look, the Moors was living in 3- and 5-story buildings. Right. 3- and 5-story buildings. And see, right, all this thing about the Renaissance and all that type of stuff, I'm talking too much. I'm sorry, Eve. So just cut in and just say, shut up, old man, because I'm the grandfather of research. Yoshi Mod, you should be ashamed of yourself. I'm not the grandfather. But anyway, it is so much. And so if you want to make the math really become realistic, you have to, in a sense, move away from all of this stuff that the white man has taught us. Everything he taught us is corrupted. Anything that says put the sister down, keep the black woman in her place, is bullshit. I just hate to tell you that. You guys don't get mad at me, but the point is this: is that the math don't add up.
The math ain't mathing.
The math ain't mathing. What they say in the so-called Bible that's supposed to have been written by black people, it ain't what the Sumerians and the Akkadians said. So somewhere along the line, somebody did some illegal math. They made 1 + 1 3.
They did, though, right? You got the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. That's supposed to be 1 and 3 at the same time, but no woman. There's no Mary. Mary is just an innocent bystander who happens to be, the portal from which the 1 and 3 can come. But I don't want to mess with anybody's belief system tonight, because I try not to go into beliefs. I like to talk about what I know and then caveat things that I feel. You said something. The the section of social studies that I'm in with my students, we were talking about Kush and Kemet, and you said Kush used to be called what?
Hawks.
So this is like before 3000 BCE. So we're
No,
in.
that's when it was called. That's when Namur or Menes was the first Cushite. He lived in Lower Egypt, and they called themselves the Hyksos. And so then we've been taught that the Hyksos were Hebrew. No, they weren't Hebrews. The Hyksos were, in a sense, Cushites. That's why you find Hyksos written by Namur or Menes. See, the whole point is that they teach meta and all that type of stuff, but everything, they don't do any original research. You see, people say I'm always over talking you, so please continue, Eve.
No, y'all are gonna stop saying stuff like that. I am here to learn, like you guys are here to learn, but I can appreciate that sometimes I have a thought that Dr. Winters might not have had, and we can grow together. But on this topic, I find that I was one of those students. I sat in the back of the classroom, Dr. Winters, and not that I didn't know the work, but I did not like to be called on the spot. And from there, I just kind of wanted to get the work done and then move on to the next thing. And now, as an educator, I'm always talking about something. And I just find it so funny that I used to be in the back of the classroom wanting not to have any of the eyes on me for any of the accountability moments that happen when you can't spell the word, but you're up at the board, or you don't really remember long division, even though you have to teach these students how to do 20 divided by 5, and not just that you know it, but how did you get there? But as you said earlier, if you're an educator or a person who is trying to teach us, you have to be mobile. I think you have to reach out and touch somebody, and you can't just be a static source of information. Some people will pick up that way, but we all don't learn the same. And we give that caveat and out to children because we know that sometimes they can hear it better and sometimes they need to write it down to remember. But in our very big ages, y'all forget your grocery list, and then you're at Food Line trying to figure out how not to spend all the money because you need food, but you had a list when you left the house. And that's not necessarily you're forgetful person, but that might be how you retain information the best. You had to write it down, and then that helps you commit it to memory. But as it stands, once we've removed the interest in learning, we get to these very big ages, and then however we feel is what it is. And if that's the case, then there is no room for growth. So then we're having conversations and relations with people on these spaces and on these apps, and you're having arguments with them about why they don't understand what you're talking about, or why don't you understand what they're talking about, because we're both talking English.
They say,
what are you? Are we talking the same English or what? We use the same dictionary? No, we didn't, because the Pacific Ocean does not exist anywhere on the planet. But specifically, the Pacific Ocean is, off the coast of California. And people don't like when I say stuff like that, but I don't know how to show them that what they said doesn't make sense until you show them that this word goes for this and this word goes for this. And sometimes they don't like to slow walk some of that stuff.
Dorvell said the white guy that played Hannibal in Silence of the Lamb is good at English. Yes, but he's talking British English. He's not talking American vernacular English. American vernacular English is a little bit different from English when you found it over there. For example, if you were to listen to someone from Ireland or someone from Scotland, you'll see a different pronunciation. Sister Shanice, she did a very interesting study, and what she did, she was in my research class. But what Sister Shanice did is that she found that when you compare the way people in Jamaica speak patois, You find in a sense that it's very close to the way Irish, the old Irish was spoken, And then Tone 5 says, what about the Gullah language? The Gullah language, what it is that it's just English with a large African vocabulary. Because see, most of us speak what's called Ebonics. Ebonics mean ebony sounds. And the reason in a sense that they say we speak Ebonics is that Ebonics, okay, there's a difference between Ebonics and the Gullah language. Because see, the Gullah language, you have an African vocabulary. You have an African vocabulary mixed with an English vocabulary, and so the pronunciation becomes out very close to African languages. Whereas in Ebonics, you have a strong English vocabulary, but an African grammar. You see, in Ebonics, in a sense, the way we form our sentences, the way we form words, then therefore, in a sense, these things result from having a grammar that goes back to our African languages or in a sense, our Aboriginal languages, you see, And so then because of that, that's why we have various idiosyncrasies in relationship to how we pronounce certain words, you see. And that's because of the fact is that the languages are different. But see, language is beautiful in terms of how you look at it, And I think that this is something that we need to really think about, is this whole idea of what language is and how we can talk to one another,
Yes. Did you see the question in the chat from TW?
Go ahead.
It says a question for you, Dr. Winters. Why are some of the modern day Egyptians so violently against the ancient Egyptians being Black? And then it says pyramids equals spirituality plus math.
Well, the point is this, is that they have to be against them being Black, because then they have no history. Remember, Caucasians have no history. What history do they have? You see, the ancient Egyptians were Black, the Sumerians were Black, the Akkadians were Black, the Elamites were Black, you see? But then what they do to you is that they make you feel that the word Black is inferior, you see? The Sumerians were proud to say that they were the Black people. The Olmec, their name was She, that means the Black people, you see? The Assyrians, they said they were the Black people. The Shia, the first rulers of China, said they were the Black people. And the greatest civilization in the history of the world, they called them what? They called themselves what? True, the Black people. And they, in a sense, lived in where? Kemet, the Black land. And yet they've conditioned us to believe that saying the word Black, in a sense, shows your inferiority. Saying the word Black, in a sense, shows that your denial of any being, sense of being. And yet the greatest people on the planet Earth, the Egyptians, referred to themselves in Metaneter as Kemeyu, Kemetru, the Black people. See? And they came from where? Kemet, the Black land. And yet they've got us so stupid, and we become so conditioned to hate ourselves that we don't want to use the word Black. That's why a lot of us cannot, in a sense, look. There's a thing called the record. Our ancestors are trying to speak to us, but our ancestors can't speak to most of us because we don't relate to them. They saw themselves as Black people. We see ourselves as anything but Black. Since we see ourselves as anything but Black, how can we connect to them? How can our children be proud?
That's a hell of a point, especially with people wanting to delineate and, be very lineage focused. I know that the argument is because of how resources are delegated. So I'm not against it. I'm actually very pro making sure that, the people get what's owed to them from the people who owe. Here's my question. When did these niggas stop wanting to be Black? Because my very real experience, Dr. Winters, is that I was probably one of the only foundational Black Americans in my immediate vicinity, but I wasn't the only melanated person. And growing up, we were all Black, and they very much were like, no, I'm not. and they tied themselves to the land from wherever they were, whether it was Jamaica, Haiti, or Nigeria. And I wonder, since all of those, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think that those names mean black, like how Kemet means black, and how you just said that the Olmecs refer to themselves as black, and those are all ancient languages.
The Assyrians, the Akkadians, the Sumerians, the Elamites, they all refer to themselves as black.
So
See?
what? So is it just the European invader aspect that removed people from wanting to be black? And then check this part, because in school we do the word association game. Black, and then they say words that make them feel whatever. So they say dark and bad and night, and it's all these negative words. And then you give the word white and they say pure and angel and heaven. And, and it's the associations start very young because of, well, I guess it's on purpose, but the removal of themselves from the word black, could it just be that, that they're learning at a very young age that black isn't good and they don't know that?
Of course. When I was growing up, and I used to see the older kids when they would fight, they'd be fighting, it'd be real cool, they'd be throwing them licks. But then when they got that brother on the ground and he was sitting on him, he'd be saying, nigga, 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 nigga. You see? And so we've been conditioned. We've been conditioned to feel that way. When I was growing up, when I was growing up, if somebody called you black, then therefore you was ready to fight and stuff. So we've been conditioned to run away from that. Because see, do you know that the Scottish kings were the dynasty of the Scottish king was called the nigger dynasty. That's what they called themselves. But they flipped the script and said that nigger was a derogatory term. So you have to understand is that the European, remember, when the Moors invaded Europe in 711 AD, they ran Europe from 711 AD to 1492.
That's right.
White people hated the fact that they were being ruled by black people. That's why when Benjamin Franklin came to the United States, he said that the only real white people were the Saxons, the Russians, the Germans. All of them were black. See. And so then, therefore, in the sense is that, but we've been conditioned to just see, in a sense, Caucasians in Britain today, Caucasians in France today, Caucasians in Russia. So we can't imagine that back then that these people, in a sense, were black. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so we've been conditioned. It's the images that people put in your mind. See, images are very important because images tell you who and what you are. Dorvell, you're absolutely correct. When you read the translations of the Winnie inscription, Breasted said, Hoxus means Negro land. That's right. But then when you go back and you find that many of the documents left by Narmer, when Narmer ruled the Levant, he has on there Hoxus. You see, Hoxus. But see, they had taught you a lie, and see that's why so much of what we've been taught, so much of what they teach you in school is full of ish. It's full of ish.
That's right.
Supermind 2164. No, they didn't write it in Delmoon. Delmoon was the ancient Indus Valley. They didn't write it in Delmoon. They wrote it in Greece. That's where they wrote your Bible at. And that's why the Muslims, the Arabs and the Persians, that's why they don't even pay attention to the Quran. They don't even pay attention to the damn Quran. They don't even pay attention to the Quran. They've made up their own fiqh, their own knowledge, their own schools, so that they can, in a sense, teach you to keep your woman down. See, that's why black people can only be successful when we understand that a black man and a black woman have to be in partnership. See, but as long as we follow what white folks teach us, as long as we follow what the white Arabs teach us, as long as we follow what the Caucasians teach us, see, they all teach you to keep your woman down. That's why they ain't shit today. That's why America going down. That's why the Arabs ain't got shit today. That's why the Arabs being ran by the Caucasian. Because they don't understand that you gotta be full, and to be whole, it has to be a man and a woman, because that's what life is all about. But if you're gonna keep one part of your whole society down, Afghanistan, the girls can't even go to school. Shooting girls if they go to damn school. What the hell is this? See? But look how over here, by black and white people, by black men and women being successful, look at how we grew. Look how the first astronauts that went into space. They didn't want to go into space based on no damn computer. They wanted to base it on what that sister did. Because she made the math add up. See?
That's right.
She made the math add up. And what I'm saying is that you have to understand, you have to understand is that people love to tell you lies. And it's through lies that you control people. And you control people when you don't allow them to really think and know who they are. It's 10 o'clock. Did you have any last words?
Just that the math will math if you pay attention to, I think, some very simple things that we've been talking about tonight. Mainly where you're getting your information from. We should probably always start with the source. From there, it's been proven that a lot of the things that they're trying to push on us as normal is not normal. And these weird moments that we're having to force ourselves to succumb to these beliefs and these thoughts that they're telling us to have. That's when the math stops mathing. So I get why people don't even want to try. But if you're like us, and when I say like us, I mean, if you're not missing your melanin, then I would urge you to take a crack at it again, because coming from the frequencies that we're sourced from, I find that it might be a little bit easier to get back on that bicycle because you've been there before.
Right. We got to make the math add up. I'm sorry, Super Mike 2164. I thought the Anunnaki wrote this Bible. The Anunnaki, the Anunnaki never existed. I did an article on that years ago. One day I'm going to do a show on Thursday, and I'm going to discuss the Anunnaki. See, I've read the real Sumerian text. There's no people known as the Anunnaki. They talked about the Anu, but the Anu are the people that we call the Twa people today. And they didn't come from no outer space, see. It's another lie. See, everything had to come from outer space, because whenever the European, in a sense,
couldn't figure it out.
Whenever the European, he can figure it out. But see, the thing is that he don't want to figure it out, because whatever, it all comes back to black people. That's why, in a sense, they had chemistry is based upon what? Chemistry, blackness. Yes. Get out of here. Nigga what?
Nigga what?
Yes, sirs. I'm sorry. I'm from Chicago. And in Chicago, anything might happen. And see, I'm going to leave you with this. TW. POWs are always mistreated. Nellie Fuller Jr. says that under the system of white supremacy, blacks are the POWs as a group. But as we excel in basketball and football, but who owns the teams? It doesn't matter about that. It's still excelling. That's why they created CEO play. That's why, in a sense, Derek Bell told us what CRT was, you see. What is CRT? CRT is the fact that white people hate you. Number 2, white people want to kill you. Number 3, white people, in a sense, can't compete with you. And number 4, white people created a system, a race. They created a race in which they're going to always win. And the reason they're always going to win is because they're going to set and establish the rules. Everybody have a good evening, good night, and we got to make the math add up.
That's right. The math will math. Black, black.